You're listening to Let's Talk a Little Shop with me, Stephanie Baringhaley, your professional podcasting resource for staying on trend and connecting you to the news that matters in the retail world. Let's talk a little shop. Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk a Little Shop. I'm your host, Stephanie Baringhaley, and joining us today is no stranger to the trade show and retail space. We have the Director of Sales and Business Development, Dane Cohen from Management One. Dane, welcome to the show.
Hey, Stephanie. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here during show season. We were just talking a little before we got on that we're going to be in Vegas before you know it. I'm leaving in just a few days. So I cannot wait. So this is good time.
Well, I'm excited that you were able to join us, and I did some digging and you've got quite the rap sheet. So you have an extensive background in the retail space, and our viewers were always curious to see, like, where did it start? Where was that first moment that you got put into this amazing world? And I'm going to bet that there was a family member who conned you into it, but then like you learned to love the world. So let's start there. How did you get into this space?
Well, the funny thing is my family tried to get me out of it. They did everything they could so that I wouldn't come into the family business. But I'll kind of give you the whole story, but it actually all starts at the trade shows. That was my first career, my first job in the retail industry. I started working actually as a sales assistant at the trade shows at Project and Magic over out in Vegas. So, I really got a bird's eye view of the entire industry there, right? It was this rush of energy every time you're on a show floor and seeing, the retailers, the wholesalers, the press and the editorial that was happening there. And once I got a taste of it all and saw all facets, I was hooked. That was it. Retail was the life for me. And then I kind of jumped around a bit. So I've kind of had my hand in all sides of the business, which I think has been, really interesting because I can speak to a lot of different facets of how this whole process works and see it from both sides. So right after the trade shows, I jumped right over to Helmut Lang & Theory, where I was the director of men's sales. So working on the wholesale side and really building up both an international and domestic distribution for them. So really understanding the ins and outs of how brands sell and what a vendor goes through and how the wholesale ordering and everything that goes into that side of the business. And that is when I finally succumbed and joined the family business. I knocked on the door enough times and they finally let me in. And I spent 7 years with my family business, which was a multi-store location, multi-department store retailer in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And that was an experience, right? If you want to talk about boots on the ground, getting your hands dirty, whether it be going out to the markets and buying, selling on the floor, unpacking merchandise, receiving, you name it, I was doing it. And, So when I'm speaking now and I get to connect with retailers, there's a special place in my heart for independent retailers, family-owned businesses. That's what I grew up in. I helped my family, continue to build the business. And so that's where my heart and my passion is, which finally brings me to Management One. And what we're doing here is we do open to buy and inventory planning for independent retailers. And we were a client before I came and joined the company. So it is just so incredible being able to work one-on-one with independent retailers across the country and really help talk about this topic that seems to be nobody likes to talk about open to buy planning, but I always say everyone likes to talk about cash. Everyone wants more cash in their business. So I'm here to spread the gospel and so excited to be talking.
Oh, I love it. So I was not as lucky as you in terms of family members. My sister conned me in. I was a nanny. And then one day she was like, hey, you got to come over to this show. It's called Magic. And you can sell booth space. And of course I got involved in it and I loved it. Like I was so hooked because
I never got to sell anything from a storefront, but we got to work with people, and their business depended on being at a trade show, being able to show their product and meet with buyers from around the world. So your family gets the props. And in terms of Management One, first off, props to your marketing team, because I see so much good stuff, come up on LinkedIn and social media. And what I love is today I saw they did a little corp and it said that this is your motto, right? Onward and upwards. And it really stressed that you guys are there for independent retailers to lean in and to constantly learn, because everything is always changing. So tell me a little bit more in terms of Management One. Who are the people that you're working with? Who are these independent retailers, and what's the current state of the marketplace for them right now?
Okay, so that's a great question. And, the onwards and upwards, it really comes from the thought process of we are always trying to take the optimistic approach when it comes to business. Now, that doesn't mean we just view everything through rose-colored glasses, but we believe in playing offense when it comes to being a buyer and being a merchant, right? Which means that you are out there actively trying to grow your business and looking for the opportunities to do so. I think so many retailers often come from a place of reactivity and defensive buying, right? They're constantly trying to almost avoid failure rather than really attack success. So that's where the onwards and upwards comes from. And like I was saying before, we really work with a large slice of independent retailers across North America, and it really runs the gamut. Now, a majority of our business is in the apparel and shoe verticals, but we work with pet stores, hardware stores, furniture stores, home decor, gift. So we really have a wide breadth of retailers, and it gives us an opportunity to really see what the state of independent retail is, right? And so often, this is one of the most fascinating things, I think, when you're a business owner. Right? Mm-hmm. You're constantly out there and you're looking for sources of information, right? How do I learn about this industry? How do I get more information, get better educated, see what's going on? And so much in retail, in terms of reporting, is all based on big box stores, right? So you're reading maybe WWD or, Business Insider, right? Whatever you're reading usually centers upon numbers and metrics pertaining to Amazon and Walmart and Target, and independent retail behaves nothing like that. Yeah. Nothing like that, right? We have, we have a lot to learn from them, but we have sometimes very little in common. So really, where does the state of independent retail lie? And I think that that's a much different conversation. Yeah. And so one of the things that we're really seeing right now, and it kind of goes back to optimism, is that the industry as a whole is still in growth mode, right? It may not be pacing as fast as it was, obviously, with that post-pandemic boom, right? That was a huge variance in, low to high, right? And so that pace of rebound is something that we are unlikely to see in the next decades, right? Knock on wood, hopefully we don't see anything that dramatic. But we are seeing growth right now. And I think it's hard to, process that because there feels to be a little doom and gloom in the air, right? And so this is one of the important lessons that we try to really work with our retailers and just with the general community, is that you have to be making data-driven decisions, right? Yes. Because if we were all making decisions a year ago based on being in a recession right now, we would have made some harsh decisions for our business that wouldn't have come to fruition. So I'm not trying to sell maybe the lived experience of people right now. Of course, there are some communities that are getting hit a little harder by inflation than others. Of course, there's some areas of concern within the economy, but the general state of retail, and specifically independent retail, right now is one of growth.
Which I love, and it's so interesting. So when you look at news articles, right, you see that off price is a huge thing that's going on in the market right now because consumers are stretched thin in terms of their dollars. And so they're really looking at a Dollar Tree. They're looking at an Ollie's Bargain Shop But then there's also this opportunity to buy where the brick and mortar, the independent retailer can make experiences so curated and so unique that they can drive that whatever cash flow is still available for those consumers to be spent in that store. So for our audience, I want to talk a little bit about how important inventory is, store experiences, and having that cash flow so that when you do go to a trade show, you can piece everything together and make the right choices, and not just based on emotion, but smart buying decisions. So walk us through that.
Okay, so let's start with inventory, right? And like I was saying before, not everyone loves to talk about inventory planning. It's not the sexy of topics. I know, I get it, trust me. But it is one of, if not the most important thing you can do to set yourself up and your business up for financial success. And here's why. It's a very simple fact, right? In retail, inventory will always be the largest cash investment in your business. It is where most of your dollars are going. So we all know this as a retailer, right? We are in a continuous cycle of doing sales and then going back out and buying goods. So you're always stretched for cash, right? Because you're in this great selling season and everything's going great. And then you have to go right back out there and invest it right back into new inventory. And the cycle is never ending. So the idea that you should have guardrails and controls and understanding and a budget surrounding your inventory purchases, when you say it on paper, it's a no-brainer. Putting that into practice is a lot more difficult and nuanced than I know that. But the simple fact is that more than 50% of your cash is going back into inventory. Usually for a retailer, it's about 52%.
Wow.
So getting this tight and getting this right is one of, if not the most important metric of success in your business. And you talked about cash flow, right? And that's so important because, one of the questions I get is, Dane, a lot of the things you say sound so great. And I want to buy fresh merchandise and I want to go out there and I want to be investing, but I don't have the cash to do it. And there's two reasons usually why we see this happening with retailers, right? One, they're just overbuying, right? They're going out and they don't have a budget. They're kind of winging it is probably the most common thing I hear when it comes to buying. I'm winging it a bit. Some are better than others at winging it. Some have that great intuition. Some of them have been doing this for 20 years, so they just, kind of know how much they need. But a lot of people are going out winging it, ending up with too much inventory and bringing it in at the wrong times.
Yep.
Right? So those are the two big factors of good inventory budgeting. How much do you really need, and when do you need to land those goods? And that is going to make all the difference when it comes to your cash flow, right? If you're not stocking up as high in areas that you didn't really need it, you have more available cash on hand, right? Yep. And if you're pacing out your goods so that they're not all front-loaded and landing at one time, again, you'll have more cash on hand to respond to your business instead of just throwing money into the wind. And then finally, my favorite topic, and we could talk about this the rest of the podcast, is we get emotionally attached to merchandise and we let it sit. And when you let merchandise sit month after month after month after month, that is your cash being unproductive right on your very own shelves and racks, right? That is just cash sitting there that is unused and unable to be refocused in more productive areas. So, it all comes down to, are we taking effective markdowns in the areas of the business that are just slow selling or not producing sales?
I love that. And data is king right now. And that kind of helps you balance your emotional tendencies, where I get it, where it's like, I love this purchase and it's amazing. And then the next day, maybe not. But data is there to help guide you. And I think that's what you guys do really well, is having that understanding of this is what's trending and this is what's selling and making you profits, right? And then this isn't. So when you go out next season, your clientele is telling you they want more of this, and they're not going to buy this other product. So it's a very black and white model of looking to see how they can be profitable when they go to these events, right?
Yeah, and we have a good saying that we use: your customer is voting every day with their wallet, right?
Yes.
So, that's kind of what you were saying. I think just, in a really digestible soundbite, right? Your customer is literally showing you what they like and don't like with their purchasing power. And so I want to be very careful, right? This does not mean that you as a buyer, and more, I'd like to actually say you as a merchant, do not need to have instincts and gut and intuition and a real sense of product, right? There is always going to be the need to take risks and really see something at market and say, I just know that this is going to be a hit. I got to have this for my business. Or I'm seeing a trend and I'm spotting it early and I want to jump on it. Or I see this up and coming vendor that's new to market and I want to be one of the first to carry them. But we want to take calculated risks.
Yes.
Right? We want to take managed risks. So one, how much over budget am I really going? Am I going $20,000 over budget, or am I going $50,000 over budget, right? If you don't have a budget to start with, you'll never know. And then second, am I tracking this in season once it lands to see how my customer responds to it? And are they voting yes or no with it? And that's where the emotion comes in, right? So we go to market and we buy this great new thing and we love it and we're so pumped for it to get into stores, and it just doesn't hit. It happens. It's happened. I've drank one too many glasses of champagne at market and just bought some things.
I think we've all been there.
That may have been a little questionable. And then, you hold on. And so at a certain point, I think a good buyer, a good merchant, a good entrepreneur knows when to hold them, knows when to fold.
That's right. And so this leads me to, it's not a sexy topic, but it's so vital for any business. And that's the ease of distribution and getting these goods into your storefront when you need it, replenishing it. If it's a hot selling item, how quickly can you get it back so that you can keep on that momentum? So something interesting, there was an article recently with Bath and Body Works. And I don't know if you know this, but they did this whole campus that's over in Ohio, and they spent a lot of money in it. But what it did is they're now able to do seasonal goods. They're now able to do less time in terms of distribution, whereas before they were very reliant on their suppliers outside of the US. So this whole USA made and the ease of getting products delivered to your storefronts. Are you seeing any chatter on the independent retailer front on that topic?
Yeah, and I think that the interesting thing here, and I think how it relates really to trade shows, right? I'm going to bring it back to trade shows. Is I think for a while, and stay with me. I'm gonna come back to it. I'm gonna take the long route around this question.
Walk us through. It's all right.
I think for a long time there was a feeling that are the physical trade shows going to disappear, right? I think that was a hot take for a while. There's going to be online marketplaces. Who even needs a trade show? And I think what we've seen post-pandemic is that is not the case. People are coming back to the shows. They want to be in person. They want it to be a place of discovery. They want to be out there in the market, buying, finding new vendors, finding new resources. However, there is also room and need for digital and online marketplaces, right? And so my point being is, if you're diversifying how you're buying and you're diversifying your vendor structure, you need to have those vendors on hand and resources on hand that that you can get product in, out the door in 2 to 3 days from a distributor, right? And so the way that you're going to find that is at a trade show. or maybe there's ATS in an online marketplace that you could order back into. So as a buyer today, as a business owner today, you need to know where your resources are for when you need them, right? So, does that mean that everything in your store has to be USA made and distributed? Maybe not. Does it mean that you need a great, viable vendor that can supply you when needed and is ready to, get you some available goods and get it to you quick? Absolutely. And these are the types of conversations you need to be having at the shows so that hey, I got my A guy here, my B guy here, and my backup, vendor ready to go if I need goods immediately. So I think diversifying how you buy, the vendors you're buying from is super important. And I think if we learned anything from, the kind of COVID pandemic, it's that we need to be nimble and on our feet and ready to pivot at any moment's notice.
100%. And so ASD Market Week, we've been around for over 60 years. And what I love is that a lot of our clientele that are exhibitors, they've been in this industry for a long time, and they know, they're so knowledgeable and they're so willing to walk and guide buyers through the process. And so that's a big component too. It's the trust, it's the relationship building of making sure that as a buyer, you understand the exhibiting side and just really knowing each other so that you can lean on each other when you do have to pivot, when you do have to be nimble. So I think you bring up a good point in terms of that relationship and how important that is.
Yes. And so this is where being on both sides in the industry has really helped me shape opinions here, right? And you cannot undervalue the importance of relationships in this business. When I was in the wholesale side of things, I worked with every major department store, and I also worked with, independent stores that were doing under $1 million a year in sales, right? And so I had a lot of people knocking on my door for product, right? I would have the head buyer at Bloomingdale's coming to me, and I would also have a guy on Main Street that has a shop, and a woman, in Washington State who has a shop in a small neighborhood coming to me for product. And even though my bosses would have been a lot happier if I got the product immediately back to Bloomingdale's or Barney's, rest in peace, what I did though was, hey, there's a mom and pop shop that I know needs this delivery. And if I could pull some of those goods from my Bloomingdale's order and give it to them, we have a relationship. I know their name. I know their kids. I know their family. I want to help them out, and I'm going to pull some goods, and you know what? They'll be okay, Bloomingdale's. And so that power of relationship and speaking openly to your vendors, right? Having those open conversations and saying what you need, right? I need this style in stock. It's my hottest seller. I really need it to finish out this month strong. Only thing they could do is say no. Right? Or, hey, you sold me something and it's really not working for me. This style just is really not hitting with my customer. Can we do a swap? Ask for it. You have so much power in this relationship as the retailer, and this is your chance to be the customer, right? You have customers complaining to you all day. It's time that you're the squeaky wheel, and talk to your vendors and tell them what you need and want. And you know what? Again, all that could happen is they say no. But most of the times, if you've created that relationship, they're there to support you and be a partner.
And that's key with any relationship. It's transparency, and then it's communication, and then problem solving. So if those three elements are consistently done, there's a good life cycle of business that's going to be developed between, both parties, which is so important. Something that we're seeing at our trade show at ASD Market Week is Sourcetique. Source Direct is back bigger than ever. And we're seeing all these international clients come through, whether it's Turkey or Indonesia or China. And something different that we're also seeing is we have a section called Sourcetique. Super cute and fun, but really what it is, it's for the smaller stores, right? For them to be able to go to this area, this pavilion, and be able to pick up product where you don't have to have the large volume orders that they were accustomed to do previously because COVID changed all of that. So now it's a little bit more, it's easier for some of these independents to be able to make these purchases and try out different factories and stuff like that. So have you ever been to Source Direct or sourcing at Magic? What are your thoughts on that?
I can't tell you how excited I am that you just brought this up. And I think that this is a topic where so many retailers are fearful of even having these conversations, right? Because what we've known in like the industry that I grew up in, right? It was if you want to manufacture anything, minimums are in the thousands, right? And it was just always this mentality that's not for me. It's too big for me. I'm too much of a, small fish in a big pond. And the sourcing side of things is just not for me. And it's now 2023. The industry has changed. Tell me the name of the Sourcetiques.
Sourcetique, and it's brand new, and it's so cute. It's so perfect, and it's personable. And there's like a matchmaking desk where you have now people that help guide you, and they take you to the product that you're looking for, and they take away all the discomfort of, you said that you need this quantity, this is the product, we've got a couple of options for you, so let's go meet them and see it and touch the product, and it's so perfect. So this is our launch for August, but we're so proud of it, and we're so happy that we've been able to bring it to market, and we're very curious to see how it performs post-show.
Yeah, and again, I think that this is why you go to market, right? You go to market not just for, the physical buying process. You go for the education and learning about new kind of experiences and possibilities within the industry. Private label right now is a genius way for retailers to compete in this economy, right? You're going to have better margins. You control the pricing. You're not competing with, other big box stores. It is your own, method of vertical distribution. And if you can now do it in a smaller scale where you're not putting that much at risk up front, right? Where, maybe you're taking a chance with a bigger offering, but it's certainly not those thousands of goods that you think you're going to need to get. It is so competitive of an edge to try private label, right? And this is where the data comes in. So understanding what are your best-selling categories? What gets the quickest sell-through? Is it T-shirts? Is it, cut and sew? Is it sweats? Is it knits? And then being able to take that information and go to a sourcing platform and say, hey, you know what? Sweats are flying out. I'm looking to produce it in-house. I want my own label. I want to control my flow of distribution. I want to control my pricing. I want to control my margins. I mean, that for a retailer in today's climate is a game changer.
Private label, I just had a conversation with Derek Gaskins from Yesway, and he's in the convenience store space, right? 400 plus stores. If you add all subs, it's like 600 convenience stores total. But we were going over that it doesn't matter what segment of the industry you're in, whether you're retail, whether you're supermarket, convenience stores, everybody is really looking at private label as that one method that they can control costs and profits and have fun with it. They can make it their own brands. Even Target, I mean, they have a whole section of own brands, and they're performing really well because consumers don't care if it's good. They're going to repeat buy. It doesn't need to have a brand name on it. They'll do it. I do it all the time with my kids. I'm like, you don't need that one. Let's try this one. And I don't know if it tastes any different, but we do it. So I think private label, you're so right. Everyone needs to explore that option and start slowly introducing it to their stores because it will build profits.
And this is the key in what the big retailers are doing, Amazon, Target. And listen, we have two options. We can sit here and complain about it, or we can start saying, what can I learn from this? And what they're doing is they're taking the data that they're getting for the performance of their vendor-based brands, like their name brands, and they're saying, this performed really well for us. Now we're going to go produce it and create it through our own private label. And In fact, I just suggested that 10 seconds ago, right? You're looking at your categories, right? But we learned that from the bigger brands. Now, I think Amazon does it in some, unsavory ways. That's really not great for small businesses. And, there's always going to be a space for name brand vendors, right? That they're not going anywhere. It's a huge part of your business. I don't think a lot of retailers out there are looking to be purely vertical distribution, but what can we pick up? What can we jump on? And what can the data tell us that maybe is a safe space for us to start playing with private label? And so I think that's the lesson we can learn from the big guys on this topic. And I'm so excited to check out Sourcetique, because that seems like it's bridging the gap between the fear of these massive minimums that people are fearful of, and really an area that's dedicated to kind of connecting smaller shops to this kind of resource.
Yeah, we're excited. We're going to hold hands, and it's something new. And I think that's the trade shows always introduce new aspects of the business. We really tried to go, okay, 2022 is behind us. We got to move forward, right? So we're gonna try to equip everyone with tools so that they can be successful. So I want to go ahead and wrap this up. Trade shows, you know so much, and we've got about 7,000 new buyers who have never been to a trade show. It's their first time at ASD Market Week, which is a huge show. We take over so many different halls, and we have so many product categories, but we've got great guides like the neighborhood guide that tells and walks you through of like what products you can find, who are the OGs that you should check out, and here's some new fresh ones you can try. But what is your take on, if you had to say, here's the top tips for you to go to a trade show and be successful? What are those tips?
I'm probably not going to say anything groundbreaking here, but I think that this is the tried and true things that you're going to hear a lot of people say that you really need to take to heart, right? I think a lot of people kind of go into it with, I'm just going to go, I'm going to explore, I'll kind of figure it out. And you have to go to a trade show with a plan. And that plan could look a lot of different ways. What are you going to accomplish there? Are you going to look at available goods? Or are you going to do pre-season buys, right? If you're going to look for available goods, what categories do you need immediately landed, right? If you're going for immediate goods, what, are you in need of skirts? Are you in need of candles? What is it, right? Mm-hmm. Don't just go and say, I need merchandise. What type and about how much do you need, right? Do I need $5,000 worth of goods or $10,000 worth of goods? And so going with a plan, am I looking for new vendors or am I looking to reconnect with vendors I already work with? Having a real understanding and then breaking it up by day. So on day one, I'm going to look to connect and make appointments with the vendors I already work with. On day two is my discovery day. And I'm really going to take that and just walk around and see new brands. And I'm going to budget about, X amount of dollars on new vendors that I want to bring in. And on day three, maybe I'm checking out sourcing because I want to learn more about private label and take in some educational sessions and really have an understanding of what's going on in the market, because I'm in my own store, in my own bubble, almost 365 days a year. And I need to get out there and hear about what's going on so I can see out of my, my little silo of business, because we all get into that where we're just looking through one kind of tunnel vision. And so that would be my biggest tip, right? Really go in and from a dollar perspective and from a mission perspective, what am I going into this trade show for? And then hopefully you're coming out with, hey, maybe you found something else that you've added on along the way, but you gotta satisfy your core mission because you're spending money to go, you're spending money on merchandise, and you have time away from your business. So you gotta make the best out of those days that you're there.
There's so much yes in this. And you know what it also does is it alleviates the pressure or the anxiety. When you come with the plan, there's a plan of action, you have intent and you have a purpose and you know what to do. So it's not as scary as just arriving and being, okay, what am I going to do? And I want to buy all this, but then I have nothing else because I just saw this other cool product. So prep work is so important. And I hope everyone who's listening, there's still time because it's not until ASD doesn't happen until August 20th through the 23rd. But there's so many other markets out there. You've got Magic, you've got New York Now, you've got Surf Expo coming up. So whatever market you go to, do the prep work.
I have one more tip.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I used to try when I first started to, I went for the outfits and the looks, and I really wanted to kind of put my best foot forward. Comfort is key. Okay. Now I'm in a pair of tennis shoes and I'm walking around and I am in and out and I am on a mission and I am comfortable. That is my new trade show vibe. So be comfortable. You're in a locked in Vegas convention center and there's no clocks and no lights. So you better get ready to have a day. It's going to be a day.
And I promise you, if you come with like cute shoes, like heels or something, you will sashay and it's not going to be in a good way. You are going to be hurting so bad that you're going to have to spend all your time at the seminars because your feet are going to hurt. So yes, that is so key. Comfort and just so you're equipped for success. So good last tidbit. But so Dane, if anyone wants to connect you, because Management One is your key to success, they'll help overlook the data and just guide you for better business. So how can people connect with you and reach out so that they can get a consultation and join?
Yeah. So, and just really quickly on that, I'm always an advocate of open to buy planning. We're one solution. We're one tool in the toolbox. I'd love to speak to anybody about what we do and how we do it. You can visit us at management-one.com. And if you fill out, there's a form on the website to speak directly to me. And I'd love to hear more about your business. We can look at some numbers, look at some data, and really it's just a conversation. So management-one.com. And I am so looking forward to this continued partnership. And we both started in the same place, so we have so much in common. It's so great connecting with you and
I know you're always in Vegas, so we're just gonna add an extra 2 days because you're gonna come and join us in March. We're gonna figure it out, but you're gonna come. That way we can do some workout sessions and some seminars and all that fun stuff. But I really want to thank you for all your inspiration, your insight. It truly is a delight to have you part of this programming because it really helps our viewers just better understand the markets and trade shows, open to buy and all that stuff. So thank you, Dane, so much for joining us. And until next time.
See you in Vegas.
Thanks for listening to Let's Talk a Little Shop. For more episodes, be sure to subscribe to this podcast in iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, or Spotify. And you can help us grow our reach by simply giving us a like, share with friends, comment, and of course, we love positive ratings. Till next time, stay on trend.